back. I was just finishing a jam there. So today's topic is going to be, we're going to deconstruct a PC that I had. We're going to look at it, the components and whatnot, and then we're going to put it back together. So I'm going to go over, what that entails, for this PC, and also what possible variables you're going to be looking at for your PC potentially, and how a laptop will differ from that, because, well, yes, the laptop differs quite a bit. Not too much though. I mean, the basic stuff's there, it's just also much slimmer, smaller, slimmer, all that good stuff. So let's go ahead and get into it. I've got my trusty tool. Should be all I need with this one. We'll find out as we go, won't we? Alright, well then, let's do it. Okay, so here we have my case here. And, model-wise, couldn't really tell you a whole lot other than what's on here. It's an HP Pavilion gaming desktop PC. Alright, that's what it tells us it is. That's what I believe it is. I bought it from Walmart. So, Walmart buy. But HP, you get product information on the bottom there. Right? Okay. So this one is a pretty simple case to get into. Really all we have to worry about is this side panel. Typically it's only a side panel that you end up having to remove anyway. This one is just a simple screw right here. Really, I mean, this one's a little stripped out, but it's pretty easy. I don't even think this is the one that came with it. I think it was one that was laying around that I just ended up using, So let's get that out of there. Okay, and as for setting things around and whatnot, you want to keep your screws in one place typically. If it comes down to there's a lot of similar type of screws, you're going to want to label them out, maybe on a piece of paper. Maybe we'll do that just for verification purposes, just to show it and whatnot. So now my case can be opened pretty easily. Some are more screws there, some have screws up here, some have a button that you have to press, and that's it. It really is just up to the tower design that you have. So there we go. We've got our side panel off, and I'm going to use this to put my screws into, and we're also going to go ahead and use a piece of paper to mark them. So let's go ahead and grab that. Got a pen right here. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and set that down over here. And just on the paper where I put the screw down, just a chassis screw, So we just write that down, and boom. Put it next to it, should be good enough. And, I'll show you a close-up of that here. So we're just gonna do it like that there. Chassis screw, and whatever we end up taking out, we'll put on there and label it on if we need to. And like I said, if you have a bunch that are similar and you really don't want to mix them up, then you can go more hardcore route, but I don't think we'll need to go that hardcore today. This is a pretty simple tower here. I think it was like $500 at Walmart, plus tax, of course. So we're gonna lay that down. And I've got a mat here. It's a rubber mat. I cleaned it down and whatnot. But typically you want to be in a static-free environment. Not typically. You want to be in a static-free environment. The tiniest static electric shock or whatever can just ruin all your expensive electronics. Which in this case, it's a side PC. Not a big deal if I happen to do that. But I'm doing everything I can not to. I don't have any carpet, so I'm wearing my socks. But if I had carpet or something, I'd want my rubber-soled shoes or barefoot or whatever is going to cause the less static buildup. Always touch the outside of your chassis. That's what this case is for. The chassis is for. typically you touch it, make sure there's no static cling. If you touch it and you get some static, you should be discharged, but you're going to want to take some precautions. Be on a static cling mat, they have them available, wear the wrist thing and whatnot. So I'll have that in the description down below, a link to one that I'll probably be using for future projects. Like I said, I'm not too worried about this one, but I'll be doing a full complete build soon. I'm going to be doing unboxing videos as the parts come in, so that'll be exciting. It'll be a real fun time. But we're going to want to make sure that we're very protective of that, because it's going to be a very expensive system, but it's going to be really nice. It's a really nice setup. So here we go. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this thing. All right. So it looks like, let's take a quick examination. Right, we've got this right here is pretty much in our way, but it looks like there is only one little screw there. Already looks like we're going to need some different tools here to really get into it. Let's see what we're going to need. A couple of different types of star bits. I have what we need. I just have to go and collect it. But like you see there, you might be able to do it with just a... Oh, hold on, where'd it go? Yeah. Ah, there it is. It's like a little star bit. You might be able to do it with a flathead. It does have the ridges for it. Looks like they might all have the ridges for it. So you might just go ahead and grab one of those real quick and start going and digging. So let me grab that real quick so we can get on with it, alright? Okay. Alright. Okay. Hopefully this one will work. If not, I'll have to pause again, but we should do the job. Alright. Let's see here. Where's the angle? Okay. Put that in here. This should work for us. Yeah, this will work for these couple ones at least. Just give it a couple of turns, get it loose. You can do the rest with your fingers. Pop over here. Looks like that's all there is to it. We'll just let it slide down like that. No need to take it all the way off. We just need to get in here. Let's see, what's next in our way here? Looks like this thing. Is there an actual screw to it though? Or does it just pop out somewhere? Kinda seems like it just pop out. Oh. Alright. Well, that didn't work out. So we're gonna go ahead and put it on the side there. Tool off to the side. Okay, so what are we looking at here? I don't see any other screws. Let's give it a few test yanks here. Don't want to break it or anything like that. Let's see, there is a bracket back here. Okay. So it looks like it's on the back behind this face plate here. Let's see, how do we take that off? Okay, so it looks like it comes off pretty easy. There's these tabs right here. And we just pull it off there. A little dirty. Didn't even know that came off. We can clean that off with our air duster here a little bit. Oh, blew something off. Oh, it was the air duster thing. Alright, pull that off a little. Okay. I don't know how much of that I have left, but hopefully not enough to finish what we're doing here. Alright, so we have our access here. Let's find that screw. There it is. Perfect. Okay. Get that down. Looks like there's some kind of grounding wires down here. Or not even grounding wires, but some kind of, even a tiny chip. Not sure what those are. Antenna is what it says. Or ANT, which I'm pretty sure is antenna. Antenna 1, antenna 2. Which makes sense considering it has Wi-Fi. So, alright. Well, we should be able to get into this thing here. Let's pop her open. Yeah, much easier. Okay. So let's see here. Make sure we do it gently. What is the process? What needs to happen? Is there another piece we're missing here? Seems to be pretty free moving. Let's see anywhere else where a screw might be. Let's see. So that just means we gotta figure out this mechanism here. Interesting. If I can get a view on the other side, it'd be a little easier, but not quite, huh? Oh, pulling on wires and such here. That might be the problem. There's a little clip down here holding those. Here, pulling on wires and stuff. Okay, so we got our other little bracket out there. This looks like it's probably for, you know, some kind of hard drive if you have the need for one. External hard drive piece. Alright, good deal. Just a drink. Okay. So now we're really into the what do you call it? Meat and potatoes, I guess. I used that already. I was gonna use something else, but oh well. Let's see, can we pull this out gently here? This panel is now in the way, but that seems to be the part of the whole chassis. Not seeing any ways to really remove that. Yeah, it's riveted in, so no getting out of that without, you know, ruining the integrity of the chassis. So let's see. Just gonna inspect it a little bit more closely here. Is it something that really needs to come out? Okay, we got it. So the case, you know, has a control panel, has that little wire there, was connected into the motherboard. Came out. You want to be careful with that kind of stuff, you know, it's like an outlet, you don't want to just yank it, you know. So we got that out. Alright, now we can lay this thing down a little bit here and get a look in it. Actually, you know, yeah, look. I'll just bring you to me. Okay, so we're on the move here. Alright. So this is what we're looking at. Okay. We've got our graphics card here. A GeForce GTX is all it tells us. Right? The Walmart brand, so who knows? We'll have to look into that. What the GTX series are, but we'll have to power it on later after we put it back together and see. So we've got memory, we've got our CPU and our CPU fan with our heatsink attached. Got all of our cables here. Got all the goodies here. We got a case fan here. Now I believe this one is pulling air in to the fan, or into the case, and typically there would be another one pulling it out, but in this case it's a cheaper case, so we don't have that. Just have that coming in, and we got the fan down here, which is pretty much responsible, and that fan, of course, the CPU fan. Those kind of circulated enough to push it out the sides, and you know, it's not as efficient as I'd like, but it works for, you know, what, you know, basic gaming purposes. You've got your CR2032 battery there. That's what's responsible for your RAM, your random access memory. That's, well, no, that's your ROM, I'm sorry. That's going to be your read-only memory. Your RAM is these right here, these sticks right here. That's your RAM. So that battery is basically what's responsible for storing anything you need it to store, startup data and whatnot like that. We've got our transistors and jumpers and our processors, chips, Yeah, the processor here, the central processors are here. It's called the central processor, right? All these little black squares are processors. That's just the central processing unit. And then we have that down there, which I want to say is an M2, but I can't read it from here, so I'll have to get into that a little bit more and check that out. But alright, so let's take it apart. Oh, and this is the power supply. So let's put you guys back up here. Alright. Get you a good viewpoint for the most part here. Okay. Alright. And got a view. So let's continue on. Alright. We're just gonna stand it back up at this point. I'm gonna squat on down here. Don't mind me and my bald head if you see it. Or balding. Let's see here. What's all this attached? This is the fan right here. Let's go ahead and pop the fan off here. Well, actually, you know what? Let's get this GPU unplugged. Let's get that done first. So in order to do that, let me just take a quick look. Yeah, there's typically a bracket or some kind of varying designs and stabilities. Oops, I revealed the lights that much. Let's get that back over here. Okay, so show you. Man, I should have glued this thing down. Oh well. Later. Okay, so this right here holds your stuff in place, basically. Typically there's just this little like a protector bracket for empty spaces or when you first get a case in, as we'll see when I get the chassis I just ordered in. It'll be coming in on Thursday, so do an unboxing video then and check it out. So alright, let's remove this bracket here. Alright. Just the one. Yep. It's got a little holder clip down there. So as you can see, we can just wheel it over here, because I think from here it's pretty loose over here. Let me just verify that. Yeah, it's all attached here. We don't need to bend it and undo it there. Alright, so we're switching back over to here. Okay. Let's unplug it. Does this one have a clip? Okay, yeah. Some of them do have a clip that you need to make sure is out before you go and pull on it all crazy. It's got a little clip here. You know, so you gotta look at that. Make sure that's not connected. Alright, we're not connected anywhere else here. Let me make sure. Let's see here. This bracket appears to be attached, and yet hard to say. It must be attached somewhere else. There's a tab over here on one of them. Alright, well, let's see. Can we unplug this thing? There's a bracket down in the back here, where at the PCI slot where it's plugged into. Sometimes there's a special slot just for your GPU. Sometimes there's not. You know, depends on what your system is here. Let's see if we can get this out. Alright, yeah, it's loose over here, okay. So sometimes you gotta be a little rough. You don't want to be too rough. It is, you know, an electronic. You don't want to be too rough. You don't want to be setting it on anything that's static. Gonna get wet. High humidity. You don't want to sweat on it. Like me right now, I'm sweating because it's like 95 degrees and I've had my fans and stuff turned off for the video. So we've got our GPU here. Alright, and GPU stands for General processing unit. No, I'm just kidding. It's graphics processing unit, okay? Just like the CPU is the central processing unit, right? This is the graphics processing unit. It's pretty complicated stuff, right? Cool stuff, though, if you're into it, you know? And that's what the PCI slot acceptor looks like, right? Okay? And then the fan on top is separate, typically, like, usually they'll come together, but you can typically remove them. On this one, not seeing an option for it, unless it just pops off. Let's see, nah, I can't just pop it off easily, so I'm not even gonna bother. But you have the same type of setup as the CPU, right? You got your heatsink and then your fan above the main thing here. And you know the funny thing is these have processors, of course, too. And under the main heatsink there is the graphics processing unit's central processing unit, right? Pretty funny. A computer is just a bunch of smaller computers put together, working together, just like a human body, a bunch of different types of cells and stuff like that put together, working together, right? So there's our graphics card. We're going to set that off to the side in a safe spot. Put the rest of our stuff. Make sure the pin connectors are not being messed with at all. You don't want those to be nasty, getting messed with. Alright, so that's pretty much gonna be the meat and potato, the meat, right? The rest of it's the potatoes. The meat is the graphics processing unit typically. Your central processing unit, kind of the meat, but it's typically fairly small if you don't include the fan and the heatsink. It's a lot smaller than the graphics unit it's going to be. Your power supply and your graphics processing unit are going to be the largest. So if you're building your own PC, this kind of tower here can only take a certain size, right? So this 400 watt power supply that it came with, you know, it looks like we got some room for expansion here, but not much, right? So, and in the terms of the back plate here, yeah, we don't have much space at all. So this is basically the only power supply, unless you can find one that's a higher supply but in that same width and length. You're going to want to consider that if you're upgrading your unit. A lot of times that's not considered. Like, oh, it's a plug and play. Plug and play just means you can plug it into the motherboard and not have to go into the command files yourself and set it up. It'll install upon being loaded. So it's nifty like that. It saves a lot of time, especially for people who don't have the technical know-how. Like, I know, like myself, I have a lot of technical know-how, but the command prompt is not something I ever really messed with too much, so I don't know a whole lot about it. But I digress. Let's continue on. So we got the graphics card. Let's see. What's next here? What would be easiest? Let's go ahead and take off the central processing unit fan. Right? And there's 4 screws on there. They're a bit longer. Got a bit more of a job, a bit more of a length on them. They got to cover the CPU, thermal, and the fan, so bit more of a thing. You can't really just do it with your fingers as quickly, unfortunately. Yeah. Okay. And of course, always be careful. Don't apply too much pressure. You know, you don't want to slip and crack your motherboard or chip off something important. So always be sure to be safe. Once again, try not to be sweating in here. Really shouldn't be sweating in there at all. It's collecting, so I'm kind of standing above here, over here. These are really long, so they'll take some time. So I'll do a little fast forward through that real quick. Alright, so that took a little time and we learned a little bit of a lesson. There are 4 posts on here and it's a bit of an assembly. The heatsink and the fan work together, which makes a bit of sense there. And I'm gonna need I don't have any thermal, there's no thermal paste on this, like at all. And oh, well, it's a cheap little unit from Walmart, like I said. So if you do buy one of these and it's heating up, you're not really sure what's going on, it's crashing on you, first thing you're going to want to check is definitely the thermal paste. If it overheats, it's going to crash. So here's our fan. It pulls the air, the hot air, up out of it into the case, then it gets pushed out as we went over. There's that assembly there, it has a plug in there, plugs in to your motherboard. It'll typically let you know, or you can find the plug-in that's, you know, similar. It's going to be pretty much the only one is on this one. You might have a more intricate motherboard that has other ones, but more than likely your pin is going to match a really close by one, especially considering the length of these is not very big, you know what I mean? You're usually dealing with a small space, so. Alright, there's one more component down, and now, okay, so this is not the CPU, of course, okay? This is just the fan and the thermal, right? I've forgotten the name for it. I said it earlier and I've already forgotten. Anyway, it's the thermals, basically. You got thermal paste and then the thermal unit here. It's like a radiator kind of thing. It disperses the heat as best as it can, and then the fan takes it from there. You see giant ones in the street, you know, those big green boxes. They have the fins like these. Yeah, that's what those are. They're just big for the power. All power generates lots of heat, so your residential power, more heat than your computer's ever going to generate, pretty much. So it's regulated with radiators and stuff like that. So a little lesson there. Alright, so we've got our thermals and our CPU fan off, and our GPU is off to the side there. Now at this point we've got a few cables sticking out right from the stuff we've disabled or taken off. Let's go ahead and keep those attached for the most part, unless they're connected to what we've taken off, right? So let's just move on to some other things here. At this point, an easy thing that we could either take off this fan, or we could go with our RAM. And in this case, let's go ahead and do our RAM. So I'm just gonna click it, get it clicked here. There's 2 little pins here. I'll show you on the second one. There's 2 in here, so let me just take one out. This one here actually came from my IBuyPower PC. I replaced the RAM in that. The one that was in there I just stuck into this one. You're not going to want to mix your RAM, but this is, like I said, it's a side PC, so it wasn't really a big deal to me. So there's one of our pieces. That's what your RAM stick looks like. This one has a heat sink on it. This plating here, that's actually what that is designed for. And not only as a backing plate to like protect the CPU from like people like me who sweat, but also to kind of dissipate the heat a little bit better. You'll see like on Amazon or something, you'll see ones that have one of these and ones that don't. You know, and the ones that do are more expensive, but I would think it's worth it, especially in my climate where it's more than often above 85. You know, not optimal for computers and stuff. So in a house, you got AC, not too bad. In here, I only have an AC unit, and it's directed right at the computer tower at the moment. So it's off right now. So we're feeling the full force of this 95-degree weather inside of the fifth wheel trailer. And there's no canopy. It is in direct sunlight, I tell you. I'm getting out of here ASAP, that's for sure. We're going to build us a really nice computer system from the ground up. Gonna get everything going good on it, and we'll see what we can do on it. I want to do some video editing on there, you know, using Cinema 4D, Blender, whatever I need to, you know. It'll probably mostly be Blender because Cinema 4D is expensive, but it's cool. So we'll see if I can earn enough, and we'll see. Otherwise, we're gonna be on this setup for at least 2 years while I save up a down payment. I've made up a 5-year plan, so we're gonna stick to it. And well, most of it'll be really fun electronics unboxing videos and reviews and stuff. I have a lot of orders on Amazon that I have stacked, and other places, of course, not just Amazon, but we're gonna get some tech from places here and there that we're gonna, test drive, not just put videos up, right? We wanna own these items and give them a test drive so we can review them for ourselves and see how good they are. Alright, so now I'm going to show you the inside where this RAM was at. Alright, so we're looking in here, this crazy mess, right? I don't know. So this is where the CPU was, right? You can see Ryzen on there, maybe? I don't know if it's coming out on the camera or not yet, but anyways, the fact that I can see that tells me there's not a lot of thermal paste there. It has been worn out. So, yeah. But underneath that is our CPU. There's a socket there. I've actually never taken one of these out myself before, so we're going to go through that together here in a minute. But as for the RAM, it's over here. It's usually right next to your CPU, right? Pretty close by. There are anywhere from 2 to 8 or more, maybe. Depends on your motherboard. You could have a bunch of these. They're RAM extra slots here. PC bus slots, MPCI bus slots. Well, they're not quite the same, but you can have multiple of them, is what I'm saying. I can't say that they're the same, but there's these little tabs here, right? There's going to be 2 of them on each side. Can you see that? Yeah, this tab here. There's 1 on each side. So you pull up on it to take it out, right? When you push it in, it locks down. To take it out, you push up on it, or pull up on it, or whatever. Or no, you do push down. I'm sorry. It'll click into place, and then you push down on the tab. Yeah, there we go. Alright, so you push down on both tabs before you pull on it, and then it should come out pretty easily, right? So there it is. This is the one that came with it. It's a cheapo, but it is, I think, at least 4 gigabytes. No, it's an 8 gig, so it's not the worst, 8 gigs. Pretty low end these days, but not the lowest end. That's the 4 gig I was talking about is the lowest you can have. If you have just one 4 gig, ugh, that's sad. What was this other one? I think it's an 8 gig as well. Yeah, it's also an 8 gig. DDR4 though. DDR5 I think is the current standard. There might be more in existence. I have to look into that some more, because I've seen GDDR like 6 or something on some stuff I've been looking at. So I don't know if it's the latest tech, but it's the standard at least. I can say that much. It's all over the place. All right, so far we've got our GPU, we've got our fan for our CPU fan, and the thermal, and then we've got our RAM is now disconnected. Alright, so let's check out what's next here. A quick view on both sides here. Okay, now let's see. We have access to a few things here. So really it's just up to our imagination at this point, considering this isn't like a necessary thing. We're just taking it apart, right? So let's go ahead and disconnect our power supply. Okay. Our slave and master. Really, really tiny slave and master. But there it is. And if you don't know technical terms, that is a thing. Maybe look into that. But looks like we have another one here that plugs into the motherboard here. So let's disconnect that. Now that was in the power command area, and these were plugged up into just some other pins that are not exactly labeled. We got system. Okay, so yeah, so we got basically, it looks like to me we got data and we got power. right? So you got your power cables and you got your data cables. So it gets it sends power to the motherboard, and also is receiving data like, you know, the power button, more than likely, sleep mode, stuff like that. That's all going to be regulated through the power supply. So that's gonna be this one right there. So that's why there's two plugs for that. Now, let's see, what else we got here? I don't exactly want to have loose wires just out and about, so I think I'll keep those. I'll keep those right there for now. Let's go ahead and take this. Let's go ahead and take this other one out here. I've just noticed from the power supply, it came all the way up, around, and across here, so that threw me for a loop there. Possibly a ground and neutral. Who knows? I'd have to look into the what the power supply exactly does. But once again, it's more than likely tied to the fact that, you know, you can go into sleep mode and things like that. So let's see. Let's get this fan. What does it require? Ah, the fan's on this side right here. We got 4 easy little screws here. So let's do that. Alright. Zip those up real quick. Okay. It looks like we only got 3. So on this third one, possibly before that even, I wasn't really thinking. You're gonna want to brace it. Otherwise, and just fall on all of your stuff and rip out the cables. Which I don't think it's heavy enough to do that, but it's definitely heavy enough to cause some damage if it just swings down. Of course, the last screw is always the most pain. Alright, so we have another plug into the supply, or to the power supply, sorry, to the motherboard. And it says it's labeled system fan. Right? Real simple, just a fan. Little Foxconn. Right? Real simple unit there. We're going to put it with its screws on our paper. Right? Put that off to the side there. Okay? So now we've got our fan off. Now, let's check out that CPU. I think that's going to be probably the easiest next step. And we'll get the power supply last, I think. As for removing the entire motherboard, we'll think about it. I'm not 100% on that one yet. Alright, so show you close up. It looks like what we're looking at is a pin here. It pops up on the lever. That's going to loosen your socket and allow you to come in and gently pick it off, right? Very delicately. You see all those pins? All that gold? If you can't see them, the gold space is individual pins, very tiny. Trying my best to show it here. Yeah, you can see kind of the glare and whatnot. Yeah, it's not a solid piece. That's all little pins. And they all plug in to that little socket area. So it's very delicate, right? And that little lever is the only thing that really holds it in, other than your thermal and your fan, right? So we're going to take our central processing unit. That's what this is, right? With it, the thermal thing on top. And we're going to set that very delicately. Not on the pins. I stress, do not place it down on the pins. Preferably, you're not really placing it down anywhere, but other than where it goes. But if you need to set it off to the side like I do here, it'll suffice. It's not going to hurt it too much. Alright, so this is what we're at. That's where we're at. Alright, I'll get another view here. Secondary. Okay. So, our next step, let's check out what this little thing is. I'm pretty sure it's the M2. I just found out about these recently, doing research on building my new PC. when I was first building PCs, these weren't a thing. It was a lot simpler back in the day. The only thing that I'd say wasn't as simple would be the cathode ray tube technology we had to deal with, the CRT monitors. Big old bulky dudes. But we still had LAN parties. We have lighter screens and stuff now, like portable units. I don't think we're going to be able to get it with this. But yeah, I believe that's the solid state drive N2. Let me get a closer look at reading it here. Yeah, you know, like back in the day, we all had LAN parties. We had to haul around our gigantic, you know, not only monitors, but the desktop itself was no picnic. But we all still did. And these days, not a whole lot. Not a whole lot. We don't even have split screen gaming anymore. You could be right next to your buddy and be like, let's play together online, separately, with our devices and not look at each other's faces, right? But anyway, that's just me being a 90s kid. Growing up when, you know, we were a lot closer knit. The internet didn't separate us as much. But, you know, here we are. It's not really separating as much. I don't know, like, I love connecting to you, you know, you viewers from all over the world, right? It's pretty cool, but personal friendships and stuff like that, those are real important to humans, and, you know, I feel like, as a whole species, we're kind of lacking in that department. We could all do a little better, I think, but anyways, I think the only thing left, really, that we're going to worry about taking out is the power supply. Because everything else is kind of like tied in to the case itself and doesn't really need to come out unless you're replacing it, right? So, well, that's kind of what this video is about, though, right? So, alright, we'll take out the motherboard. So, let's do the power supply first. If we might have to go get a new... No, okay, this one will get the power supply, alright. I was going to say, we might have to get a new socket. Or a new screwdriver, sorry. But this one is going to do it. No, I don't even think... This might be a... This is multiple bracketed assembly here, it looks like. So. Yeah, we've got screws up in the front here as well. So we'll take this bracket here. How this looks see. Now I keep seeing this. I had some other people install my recent graphics processing unit, the 3080, just because I didn't want to mess with it. You know, it was big and bulky, and I was late for work as it was, so I was like, yes, I would like that. Put it in for me, and I'll pick it up later. But yeah, the power supplies are usually upside down or something. You know, the label. Or if you look in the back here, if there is a switch, this one doesn't have a switch. They usually will have a switch or a mode, potentially. And they're usually upside down, so I don't know. I don't know if that's a necessary thing or what. I'm not as experienced in the PC building world that I would know that specifically, I guess. But it looks like the screws in here that we can get to right at the moment are good to go. There is one up here, but I can't really... I don't know if I can get to it without taking the rest of these off. So we're going to take these ones off on the side here. There's a few of them in here as well. You never realize how many little screws there are until you're doing it. And then, like, really until you're putting it back and you have like 3 left over and you're going, uh-oh. But everything still works, so you're like, I guess it's not a problem, you know? And then like 3 months down the line, you move your system and you wonder why it broke. And you're like, what the heck? Didn't do anything. Oh, but the missing screw. Oh, oops. Caused some stress and fracture. Or just enough stress that the jumpers got messed up. It's a very delicate system. It's a surprise that they've made them as durable as they have. You know, especially here being in the desert. The heat is not good for these things. That's why your closets and stuff are going to be, you know, air conditioned, very cold. Typically like 60s. and they're in the 60s. Some are even lower than that, depending on what they're doing. You know, if you're a Bitcoin mining operation, you're gonna want very cold, a lot of cold air, right? Because those run hot. That's a hot system there. I know because I've been running it just on my desktop, and just that generates a bunch of heat. Alright, we almost got all these up. We'll switch on over to the other one there. And we'll take a look at this power supply in a little bit more detail. And when I do my final build on the PC, it'll probably be a live stream. So that way, you know, you guys can ask me questions. Questions and stuff. I think that'd be cool. If y'all are into it, let me know in the comments down below. We'll check it out and get that done. So I think that'd be cool. I might do it anyways, whether you guys like it or not, right? Why should I base my interests off of you? I joke, I jest. I enjoy making content, but also I want to, you know, I want y'all to enjoy it as well, so hopefully that's the case. Hopefully that's the chassis. No, I'm just kidding. That was a joke. Not a good one, but it was a joke. An attempt at one. Looks like that one's I don't know if we can unscrew that from behind the panel here. Let's set these off to the side. Okay. Where did my other... Okay, I'm gonna see, but I'm not confident. Yeah, okay, so we're gonna have to... Now, we pull it out of this. Alright. Or we should be able to. So it just clipped in. Uh-huh. Okay, let's see. No. Alright. Pop that, okay. Now, let's see. What's the deal? Seems to be that possibly that screw in the back, but seems like maybe something else. It could be something else holding it into place over here. Oh, there we go. Ah. Okay, so it just slid in. There's a little bracket that it connected into. Makes sense. Alright. Ground tools and trying to put them on desks. Okay, so only limitation, of course, is going to be the cables are all kind of built in here. They're hoping that you won't do these. But okay, it's not all the way back. You can lift it up. Never mind. But yeah, they give you the appearance of not being able to do it, that's for sure. Okay, so now we can get to this other screw here. Let me just do that real quick off screen, so I can actually get it down real quick. Alright. Little bitty screw. I'm not the smallest one though. Alright, so I'm just gonna pop that off. So that slides off as well. Now typically, this isn't a thing that anybody's really gonna need to mess with, but just wanted to open it up and have a look. So this has been sitting for a while. I did clean up the inside before the video of the case, you know, just like with some air duster and whatnot. But I didn't clean anything else, right? So I don't know if you can really make it out too well on the webcam here, but oof, it is filthy. filthy in there. Here, I'll show you on the other camera as well. Not that it's any better over here. Alright, anyways. So, this is your junk power supply, essentially. It's real cheap, quickly put together. I mean, it looks fine, right? But in reality, 400 watts is really low end, especially for a gaming PC. To sell a gaming PC with a 400 watt power supply is pretty cheap, in my opinion. So we're just going to give this a quick clean up here. Part of the reason why we took it apart here, I personally, I'd recommend doing this kind of thing with your PC, at least, I don't know, quarterly. Maybe something like that, depending on your environment, you know. Some aren't going to be bad, you know, as here even, my father owns a business next door, and those towers are inside that building that is very dusty in there, constantly. I opened one up expecting the worst, and it was actually extremely clean. I was surprised. Didn't have a lot in there. But some will, you know, needless to say. So let's go ahead and pop that bracket back on. We don't really need to be inside of that, right? We'll get the gist. It's once again, it has a motherboard, right? It has its own type of control board. That's what I would call it instead, is a control board. The motherboard controls the control boards, if that makes sense, right? So you have a hierarchy. This is just it doesn't do anything without permission from the motherboard. So it's a bit there. You can see it has the transistors, stuff that, you know, that's what generates your power, you know. And of course, a system fan. And once again, this is a very tiny one, right? Like, this is barely the size of like my thumb, right? So it's pretty tiny. You're gonna want something more beefy, in my opinion. Now, let's move on. Once I can figure this out, anyway. It was like, yeah, okay. So you gotta hook it on and slide it. Kind of a weird thing there. More secure, potentially, that way. I don't know. Kind of messed it up when I was trying to loosen up the whole thing. I'd already undone a few screws, so yeah. And actually, I loosened all the stuff here too. These screws right here weren't necessary to undo, right? That just made the insides here loose, which is not, like I said, typically nothing we need to worry about. Your average individual, not gonna have to worry about that. So don't remove those screws if you're doing that on your power supply. Just the ones that are mounted to the chassis. Make it so you can't get into it, right? All right, so let's put that off to the side. Okay. All right. I believe that is pretty much it, other than the motherboard itself. Let me take a quick look here. How are we getting this? Is that separate? Is it together? Is it mounted on any other way? Is it loose? See, my concern is that it's not a separate piece, but I think it is, because, okay, this is just like some extra, I don't know the exact name of the material. Looks like it's double-sided tape, but one side is not undone. I don't know, maybe it's for electronics, maybe it's for straight just sticky tape. But anyways, I digress. Let's see. Looks like there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I only see 5. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, there are 6. There was a space for a 7th one. It might have been one we already grabbed, but I don't remember doing anyone from up there, so potentially just didn't have that one in there. But, you know, sometimes you'll see that. Oh, ha. Try not to do that, right? It became top heavy after I pulled out the power supply, and I didn't take that into account. So here's what we're looking at. Real different, right? Real open now. And in the beginning. Okay, so let's see about pulling out this motherboard. Hopefully it goes without a hitch. Alright. Now you want to be really careful because you're right on the motherboard. Pressure-wise on the screwdriver, you know. Definitely. And maybe a lighter screwdriver. I've got a big bulky one. It drops really easy trying to do delicate work. But it is magnetized slightly, not like hardcore. Not enough to damage it. Nope. If it doesn't turn on, we know why. Sweating here too much, right? And that one, that sweat droplet doesn't look too bad. Yeah, I think we'll be fine. I'm gonna do better to avoid that though. It's not a common thing we want. Typically, I've got like, you know, headbands and stuff, but whatever. Maybe in the future I just do the work and then do a voiceover, so that way I can have my fans on while I'm working, right? You want to work in a colder environment so you're not sweating to begin with, is what I'm getting at. But sweat's not exactly bad either, you know, keeps your body cool. If you're like super hot environment and you were sweating really hard and you stopped sweating, definitely get some help. Cool down immediately, let somebody know that you're in heat exhaustion, because that's what that is. And the next stage is a heat stroke. So if you're already feeling confused, there's not a lot that I can say for you to do in that stage, because you're already going to be confused. You're not going to remember the words of some guy on YouTube. But yeah, if you ever see somebody separately, like yourself, if you ever see somebody go through these stages, you know, definitely get them to the shade, get them some water, get them hydrated, cool them down any way possible. AC, whatever you need to do. Because, yeah, it's not good. Deadly. It's a fatal condition, potentially, so you want to help them out. And you want to avoid it yourself. If you're sweating like I am, you're going to want to drink water to replenish yourself and stay hydrated, to avoid that as well. Even the most hydrated individual can succumb to a heat stroke still, in the right conditions, so always be wary of that. If you're a cosplayer, especially, the costumes and stuff, it's really fun, it's cool, but, get a hotel room. Change in a hotel room at the conference center. Being out in those outfits in the heat it's just not good for you. I mean, you do you, but that's my opinion. That's how I did it when I could, anyway. If I lived in town and was just driving there, then it wasn't a big deal. So I didn't worry about it, but... Yeah, I went to Albuquerque Comic Expo one year. That was pretty fun. I dressed up as the Joker. Did a little cackle. That was fun. That was fun. Got a few responses, you know. There was a few Harleys there. I had my own Harley at the time. So it was fun. Cosplaying can be awesome. Alright. I'm looking at it here, and it seems like we might need to pull it out. But it's not quite there yet, which leads me to believe I have more screws to undo that I have not seen yet. So let me get back over on this side. Let's see which ones. Ah, yes. These up here are the only ones left. The last remaining ones, right? Alright. Oh, are they? Oh no. These ones don't even have the flathead option. That's a bummer. They don't want you taking out the motherboard. That's what I'm seeing here. But these star-headed, the star-headed bits aren't that common. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go grab one. Alright, we're back. So, I have these here. I also get them in a variety here. If we have the wrong size, we'll know which one we need. and be able to take it from there. Maybe like some pliers or something, you know. But we have two sizes here which should cover it, and they're you know, handle tools, so it's a lot easier to deal with. I'm surprised the only time we needed to go and get these. I mean, we could have used them the whole time, but they weren't 100% necessary. It's like I've bent this before. All bent. Very easy to do so. Very flimsy material. Be wary of that. Alright, let's see which one. Oh, looks like the smaller one it is. I'm glad I grabbed two. It was already pretty. I mean, once I got it broken, it was super loose on its own. The only thing left, right? Oops. Now, the motherboard is typically going to have an audio device of some variety, you know. But if you want to get a little bit more advanced, you can always install a separate an audio card, which I'll be doing in my upcoming build. I want the best of the best, right? So we're going to be putting that together. So I'm going to unbox each thing as I get it. I'm not going to order it all at once because I'm not that rich, but I'm going to get it. It's about a $6,000 kit altogether with everything. So it's going to take a little bit of time. That's what I'm going for, you know, get some content, regularity, right? And in the meantime, you know, you'll have my top 5 lists. Might do some top 10 here and there. I don't know. We'll see what we do. We can mix it up too, you know. Whatever. I also have a Minecraft channel, which I'll be doing more videos on because 1.19 is dropping here pretty soon. So be on the lookout for that on Stalic Plays, right? So let's see. Were we successful? What else do we got here? Uh-oh. There's other connections. Very delicate looking connection here. Oh, never mind. Or maybe that delicate that I just broke them. Possibly. They don't look broken. I think they just pull out. They were the antenna cords that we were looking at. Oh, okay. So at this point, we're going to have to grab the rest of our plugs out. Being gentle and careful. Some of them have clips, remember? You want to keep those carefully, or in consideration, not careful. Alright. Okay. So it doesn't seem to slide out per se. Yeah, that didn't quite work that way. Okay. Oh, that was right on a processor. Okay, there we go. Alright. Well, it made it seem like it slid out that way, but there we go. There it is, and I just sweat on it right there, so hopefully, I think it's covered in a protective material as a precaution, but not 100% on that, so we may have messed it up there by sweating on it. We'll find out later, won't we? But anyway, here it is. There's our motherboard. Right? All the jumpers, transistors, and all the little things. A lot going on there. And most of it, you know, all the important stuff is labeled. You'll have all your labels, your stuff like LAN, yeah, LAN USBs over here. Everything's labeled out. If you're building one of these things from scratch, you're gonna know better than I am, obviously. You know what I mean? But from this perspective, You know, we don't really, I mean, look, check that out, right? Looks a little different on the back. Let me get a different angle so it's not so shiny. There we go. Somewhat there. Cool stuff, right? That's where the processor goes. On the other side, right? So there we go. There's our inputs on the front of the tower. And there's our inputs on the back of the tower. Right? Very basic ones. Very basic. Okay. So there it is. That's this tower disassembled. Now, put this off to the side here as best as I can. This is another one where you don't typically want to set it on anything except for where it's going. But in this case, we're not too worried about it. So there we go. We have a completely emptied out case, right? That's all it is now. It's just a case. So we're gonna put this up here. We're gonna kind of put stuff together with it that goes with it. So like chassis parts, I mean, let's grab those. So we got our back plate here, right? Or our front plate, sorry. That's where the front stuff goes. We'll just set it in, right? We got the two brackets that were mostly just protective brackets, and to hold an additional hard disk drive, or you know, whatever you need really that can fit in there, and you can fit your wires into. I believe that's it for the case, except for of course the chassis, the initial chassis cover. We have that off to the side being held by the things. So there we go. All right, there it is. We have deconstructed this thing, top to bottom, right? It's nothing more than a case now. Here's all the parts. Got our motherboard, got our CPU, thermal and fan. I gotta find out the word for those again. But we got our RAM, and our CPU, and our GPU all together there. Right? Some cables, the power supply, and just my random decorations in the background there. So there it is. Now I'm gonna take a break here because it's super hot. We're gonna come back when it's cooled down, and we're gonna put this thing back together, and then we're gonna turn it on, see what it is, right? I'm gonna get the information on that graphics card and see what we have installed, see if the double RAM, two different types of RAM, see if that causes any problems, right? So we're gonna check that out. Now, as for hard disk drive, now I'm kind of lost because I don't see one, right? There's typically a separate hard disk drive completely. We got our power supply, GPU. Yeah, that's a little bizarre. We might be missing it, but I don't think so. I used to play on this, and I just put it off to the side when I got this thing here. So, I don't know. I'll let you know after, or you know, when we're putting it back together and turning it on. I guess we'll find out together, right? But anyways, I'm going to shift back on over to the computer. Go back. So, figure this out here. My collar's all loose, all sweaty. Well, I can never center myself into the picture quite accurately. But so yeah, we've just gone through the deconstruction phase of a tower. So if you're going to be upgrading your tower, or if you're going to just be using your chassis as a template for newer parts, you know, that's the process that you would go through to do that. Or if you're just interested in learning more about it, you know, just to do it, or to clean it. You know, it's always a good idea to get it clean. Probably don't go that far, like taking it out, the motherboard, and CPU and stuff. You probably don't want to remove the CPU if you're going to be doing any kind of air dusting or anything like that. That's a very delicate piece. You don't want to be messing around with that. They're made in the most high-tech labs in existence. If you thought hospitals were supposed to be clean, these places, they knock hospitals out of the water. Completely sealed environment. There is no contaminants. You know what I mean? There is a lot of measures to ensure that, because the tiniest thing can, set off the whole project and they're out lots of money. So it's a very delicate procedure to make, and fiddling with it, you want to be very delicate. You might have people that are like, whatever, but those are probably richer people that don't have to worry about breaking what they're working on. That computer right there, like I said, I don't have to worry about it as much. Like I did sweat on it, obviously. So if that becomes a problem, we'll know when we put it back together and try to turn it on. If it doesn't work, then probably because it got wet sweat, or because it doesn't have a hard drive. I don't know. That was that was bizarre to me. There's usually some kind of extra hard drive. Maybe it's built in at this point on a cheaper unit. I don't know. We'll have to find that together. But for now, as you can see, it's very hot, and I don't want to have to try to film with the air conditioner on. So we'll be back later on tonight when it has cooled down, and we're going to put this thing back together and find out. Alright, see you then.